The great hall of the Galactic Academy was filled with quiet noise, soft voices, low laughter, the sound of data screens flickering in the air. Rows of students sat in perfect order. Some had scales, some had glowing eyes, some had long arms or strange heads. They all came from powerful worlds, war worlds, high-gravity worlds, advanced worlds. At the front of the hall stood a tall instructor. His face showed no emotion. His long robes moved slowly as he walked toward the center platform. The room slowly became silent. Everyone knew this lecture was important. A new species had been discovered. The instructor raised his hand. A massive holographic screen lit up behind him. A single word appeared. Humans. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the image appeared. A human stood on the screen. No claws, no armor, no sharp teeth, no glowing energy. Just soft skin, 2 arms, 2 legs. Simple, weak. The silence broke. Laughter spread across the room. They look harmless. Is this a joke? That thing survives in space? One alien leaned forward, studying the image closely. I don't see any natural weapons. Another added, even our younglings are stronger than this. More laughter. In the middle row sat K-Layer. He was tall, strong, and confident. His species was known across the galaxy as warriors. He had survived battles most students could not even imagine. He looked at the human image and smiled. This is a waste of time, he said loudly. They are weak. Many students nodded. The instructor did not react. He simply watched them. Then he spoke. Are you certain? K-Layer stood up slowly. Yes, he said. They have no defense, no strength, no survival traits. The instructor turned toward the screen again. Interesting, he said. He pressed a command. The screen changed. Now it showed a planet. Blue, beautiful, peaceful at first glance. This, the instructor said, is their home. Earth. Some students leaned forward. Others crossed their arms. K-Layer looked unimpressed. It looks safe, he said. The instructor did not respond. Instead, lines of data began to appear across the screen. Slowly, one by one. Gravity level, high. Temperature range, extreme. Weather patterns, unstable and violent. Predator density, very high. Microbial life, highly aggressive. Survival difficulty, extreme. Then, the final line appeared. Classification, Deathworld. The room went quiet. The laughter stopped. Students looked at each other. Some frowned. Some leaned closer to read again. K-Layer's smile faded slightly. That can't be right, one student said. No weak species can live on a death world, another added. K-Layer crossed his arms. This data must be wrong. The instructor turned slowly to face them. It is not wrong. K-Layer shook his head. I refuse to believe that thing survives on a death world. He pointed at the human image. That creature would not last one cycle on a real dangerous planet. A few students agreed. Yes, impossible. No natural protection. They would be wiped out instantly. The instructor walked closer to the center. His voice was calm. Then you will observe. The room became still again. Observe? K-Layer asked. Yes, the instructor said. You will study humans directly. A low murmur spread across the hall. Some students looked excited. Others looked nervous. K-Layer smiled again. Good, he said. I will prove this is a mistake. The instructor gave a small nod. Be careful what you assume. K-Layer stepped forward slightly. I am not assuming, he said. I am stating facts. The instructor looked at him carefully. For your sake, I hope you are correct. That answer made K-Layer pause. Just for a second, then he laughed. There is nothing to worry about. The instructor pressed another command. The screen changed again. Now it showed moving footage. A human, running, fast, across rough land. K-Layer frowned. Why is it running like that? No reason detected, the system replied. The human kept running. Minutes passed. It did not stop. That is inefficient, one alien said. Yes, it wastes energy, another added. But the human kept moving. Then the scene changed. A large predator appeared. Sharp teeth, massive body, fast. The students leaned forward. "This is it," Kalair said. "Now we will see reality." The predator charged. The human turned. For a moment, it looked like fear, but then something changed. The human did not run. Instead, it picked up something from the ground, a rock, then another. Then it moved, fast, smart, different. The screen cut to black. The room was silent again. No one laughed this time. Kalair stared at the screen. His expression was no longer confident. "What happened next?" a student asked quietly. The instructor looked at them all. "You will find out," he said, "when you see it for yourself." Kalair slowly sat down. For the first time since the lecture started, he was not smiling. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. The image of a human stayed in his mind. No claws, no armor, no power. And yet, it did not run. The instructor's voice echoed one last time. Class dismissed. Students began to leave. But the energy in the room had changed. There was no laughter now, only questions, and one growing feeling. Maybe they had made a mistake. Kalair looked back at the dark screen. Before leaving, he spoke softly to himself. "If that creature survives a death world," he paused, then whispered, "what else can it do?" And that question was the beginning of everything. The ship entered Earth's orbit in complete silence. It did not look like a warship. It did not look like anything at all. It was hidden, invisible to human eyes. Inside the observation room, Kalair stood near the main screen. His arms were crossed, but his face was no longer confident like before. Around him, a small team of alien students watched carefully. No one was laughing now. "Begin descent," one of them said. The ship moved slowly through the clouds. White mist surrounded them. Then the surface appeared. Green lands, dark forests, wide rivers. Everything looked calm, peaceful. Kalair narrowed his eyes. "This is a death world," he said quietly. "It looks normal." The system responded. "Danger levels vary by region." Kalair didn't reply. The ship landed deep inside a forest. Tall trees surrounded them. Thick plants. Strange sounds filled the air. The doors opened. A wave of heavy air entered the ship. Kalair stepped forward and immediately felt it. The gravity. His body dropped slightly. His muscles tightened. "This," he whispered, "is heavy." Another student tried to walk and stumbled. "How do they live in this?" she said. Kalair did not answer. He focused, adjusted his balance, forced his body to move. Step by step, outside the ground felt alive. Insects moved quickly. Small creatures ran between the plants. The air was warm, thick, uncomfortable. "This environment is unstable," the system warned. Kalair ignored it. "Locate a human," he ordered. The scanner activated. Moments later, target found. The group moved carefully. They stayed hidden, watching, learning. After a short distance, they saw it, a human, alone, running. Kalair froze. The human was moving fast, jumping over roots, dodging trees, breathing hard, but not stopping. "Why is it running?" one student asked. "No threat detected nearby," the system replied. Kalair stepped closer, watching every movement. The human's body was not perfect. It showed signs of stress, sweat, heavy breathing, but it kept going. Minutes passed, still running. "Impossible," one alien whispered. "That much movement should cause collapse." But the human slowed down, stopped, bent forward, breathing hard. Then it stood up again, recovered. Endurance. Kalair said quietly. The word felt strange in his mouth. Then something changed. The forest became silent, too silent. Kalair noticed first. "Wait," he said. The human also noticed. It stopped moving, looked around, alert, careful. Then a sound, a low growl, from the shadows. Something big moved between the trees. The alien group stepped back slightly. The system highlighted the target. Predator. Large. Fast. Deadly. "This is the end," one student whispered. Kalair watched closely. "This is where reality begins," he said. The predator stepped into view. Massive body, sharp teeth, eyes locked on the human. The human did not run. That surprised everyone. "Why is it escaping?" someone asked. "Escape chance, low," the system replied. The predator moved closer. Slow, careful, ready to attack. The human looked around quickly, searching, thinking. Then it picked something up. A branch, then a stone. Kalair frowned. "What is it doing?" The predator charged. Fast, powerful. The alien students stepped back in fear. But the human moved forward. Not back. Forward. It dodged the first attack. Barely. Rolled across the ground. Got up immediately. "Fast reaction," Kalair whispered. The human threw the stone. It hit the predator's face. Not enough to stop it, but enough to distract. Then the human used the branch. Not as a weapon, as a tool. It kept distance. Moved around. Controlled space. "This is not random," Kalair said. "It is thinking." The predator attacked again. The human moved again. 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 Each movement was small, precise, efficient. Time passed. The predator grew slower. The human stayed focused. Then, a final moment. The human struck at the right time, not with strength, but with timing. The predator collapsed. The forest became silent again. The alien student stood frozen. No one spoke. Kalair stared at the human. The human was injured, breathing heavily, shaking slightly, but alive, still standing, still aware. Then, something unexpected happened. The human did not celebrate, did not rest. Instead, it looked around again, still alert, still careful. "Why?" one student asked softly. "The threat is gone." Kalair answered this time. "No," he said slowly. "On this world, the threat is never gone." The human picked up its things and started walking again, as if nothing had happened, as if survival was normal, as if danger was expected. Kalair felt something he had never felt before. Not fear, not yet, but something close. Respect. "This is not weakness," he said quietly. No one disagreed. The system spoke again. Multiple additional threats detected in surrounding area. The alien group became tense. "Return a ship?" one asked. Kalair didn't answer immediately. He kept watching the human. Every movement, every decision, every breath. Then he said, "No, we stay. We observe more." He turned slightly. His voice was no longer proud. It was serious, focused. "We were wrong about them." The forest around them made strange sounds again. Wind moved through the trees. Something distant howled. The human disappeared deeper into the wilderness. Kalair followed with his eyes and whispered, "If this is just one." He paused, then said, "What are the rest like?" No one had an answer, but all of them knew one thing now. This mission was no longer simple. The ship stayed hidden above the forest. Inside, the observation room was no longer relaxed. The students sat in silence. No one joked anymore. No one laughed. Only the sound of recorded data filled the air. Kalair stood still, watching the screen. The same human was still alive, still moving, still surviving. Hours had passed since the fight with the predator. And yet, the human did not rest for long. "This makes no sense," one student said quietly. "It should be exhausted." Another added, "Its body took damage. It should stop." Kalair did not respond. He was watching closely. The human had found water. It knelt near a small river, drank slowly, then cleaned its wound, not perfectly, but carefully. Basic medical behavior, the system said, but no advanced tools. Kalair leaned forward. "Still effective," he said. The human looked around again, always watching, always aware. Then it moved, collecting small branches, dry leaves, stone pieces. "What is it doing now?" a student asked. The system processed. Unknown pattern. Kalair narrowed his eyes. "No," he said. "It is building something." The human worked slowly, step by step. No rush, no panic. As the light faded, The answer became clear. Fire. The human created fire. The small flames lit the dark space around it. The alien students stared in shock. Primitive but powerful, one whispered. Fire controls temperature. Scares predators, another said. K-Layer said nothing. But inside, something changed again. This was not luck. This was knowledge. Passed down. Learned. Used. The human sat near the fire, resting, but not sleeping deeply. Even now it stayed alert. The system suddenly warned. New threat detected. Everyone focused. Movement appeared at the edge of the forest. More creatures, smaller than the first predator, but many. They hunt in groups, the system explained. The students became tense again. This is over, one said. Even strong species avoid group hunters. K-Layer watched carefully. The human stood up, picked up a burning branch. The creatures moved closer, eyes glowing in the dark. Low growls filled the air. The human stepped forward, fire in hand, not afraid, not running. The creatures hesitated, moved back slightly. Interesting, K-Layer whispered. The human made a loud sound, a shout, strong, confident. The creatures stopped. Then slowly, they retreated, gone. The forest became quiet again. The students stared in disbelief. It scared them away. With sound and light, without fighting, K-Layer finally spoke. It chose the safest path. Not strength. Not risk. Strategy. No one argued. The human returned to the fire, sat down again, calm, as if this was normal, as if danger was part of life. K-Layer turned away from the screen for a moment. His thoughts were changing, slowly, but clearly. They don't win because they are strong, he said. They win because they adapt. One student looked at him. Then what are they? K-Layer did not answer yet. Instead, he walked toward another screen. Show more data, he ordered. The system responded. New recordings appeared. Different humans, different places. A frozen land. White snow everywhere. A human walked through it. Slow, cold, still alive. Another scene. A burning desert. Endless heat. Another human moved across the sand. Struggling, but moving forward. Another scene. Storms. Heavy rain. Strong winds. Humans working together. Building. Helping. Surviving. K-Layer watched everything. Without speaking. Without moving. Minutes passed. Then he finally said, they live everywhere. The system confirmed. Humans exist in multiple extreme environments. A student asked, how is that possible? K-Layer answered this time. They change. They learn. They adjust. Another student looked confused. But they are weak. K-Layer shook his head slowly. No, they are not weak. They are flexible. That word stayed in the room. Flexible. The system added more data. Injury survival rate, high. Endurance level, above average. Social cooperation, extremely high. That last line made K-Layer pause. Explain, he said. The system showed a new scene. A human was injured, bleeding, unable to move. Another human arrived. Instead of leaving, it helped, carried the injured one, risked its own safety. Why? A student asked. No survival benefit, the system replied. K-Layer stared at the screen. That is wrong, he said quietly. The system paused. Clarify. K-Layer spoke slowly. It is a survival benefit, just not individual. The room stayed silent. They survive together, he continued. They protect each other. They fight for each other. Another student whispered, that is dangerous. K-Layer nodded. Yes, because that means... He looked back at the screen. If you fight one human... He paused, then said, you may face many. No one spoke after that. The weight of that idea filled the room. K-Layer returned to his position, watching the original human again. Still alive, still moving, still thinking, still adapting. The forest around it was dark now, but the fire still burned. Small, controlled, useful. K-Layer crossed his arms again, but this time, not with pride, With focus. With no claws, they make tools. With no armor, they build protection. With no strength, they use intelligence. He looked at the others. They turn weakness into advantage. One student said, quietly, then they are not weak at all. Kalair shook his head. No, they are something else. The system detected movement again outside. More threats. More danger. But Kalair did not react with fear. Not this time. He watched calmly, learning, understanding. Then he said one final thing. If this is their normal life. He looked at the human one more time, then finished. Then we have misunderstood them completely. The room stayed silent. No laughter, no doubt, only one clear truth forming. Humans were not simple. They were not weak. They were not easy. They were something far more dangerous. And Kalair knew this was only the beginning. The ship remained hidden above Earth. But inside, everything had changed. The students were no longer observers. They were now unsure. Kalair stood at the center of the room, staring at the screen. The human below was still alive, still moving, still surviving. Hours had turned into a full cycle, and nothing had broken it. Kalair took a slow breath. This is not enough, he said. The others looked at him. What do you mean? One asked. Kalair turned toward them. We have only seen natural survival. He paused. I want to see limits. The room became tense. Another student stepped forward. You want to interfere? Kalair nodded. Yes, that is against observation rules, someone warned. Kalair didn't care. Then we won't interfere directly, he said. We will adjust the environment. Silence. No one liked the idea, but no one stopped him either. Kalair moved to the control panel. Create a controlled survival scenario, he ordered. The system paused. Warning, risk level high. Continue, Kalair said. The system obeyed. Outside, the forest slowly changed. Not in a way humans could see, but in a way they would feel. Food sources became harder to find. Water became distant. Predator activity increased. The human would not know, but the test had begun. Kalair watched closely. This will show the truth, he said. The human woke as the sun rose. The fire had died. The air felt colder. Different. The human stood up slowly. Its body showed pain. Its movements were slower than before. Injury impact increasing, the system noted. Now it will fail, one student said quietly. Kalair said nothing. The human walked toward the river, but stopped. The water was gone, or moved. Water source shifted. The system confirmed. The human looked around, confused. Then it changed direction, searching, thinking. This is inefficient, one student said. It will waste energy. But the human kept moving, step by step, careful, focused. Time passed. The sun rose higher. Heat increased. The human began to slow. Its breathing grew heavier. Sweat covered its body. Still no water. This is the breaking point, Kalair whispered. But the human did not stop. Instead, it changed strategy. It moved toward lower ground, toward shade, toward signs of life. How does it know? A student asked. No clear data, the system replied. Kalair answered quietly. Experience. After a long time, the human found a small water source. Not much, but enough. It dropped to its knees, drank carefully, not too fast, not too much. Control behavior, one student said, even under stress. Kalair nodded slowly, but the test was not over. The system triggered the next phase. Predator movement increased. The forest grew louder. More sounds, more danger. The human sensed it. It stood up, alert again, even while tired. That should not be possible, one student said. Fatigue level is high. But the human did not relax. It moved quickly, searching for safety. It found a higher position, climbed, slow, but steady, watching below. Minutes later, the predators arrived. Not one, not two, many. They moved through the forest, hunting, searching. The human stayed still, silent, hidden. Stealth, Kalair whispered. The predators passed. Gone. The human remained in place, waiting, long after the danger left. Patience, Kalair added. This is controlled survival. The system moved to the final phase. Extreme condition activated. Clouds gathered above. Dark. Heavy. The wind grew stronger. A storm was coming. Fast. Now it ends, one student said. No shelter. No tools. Kalair watched without blinking. The human looked up, saw the sky, understood the danger, and moved fast. It searched the area, found materials, branches, leaves, mud. This is too late, someone said. The storm is already here. But the human did not stop. It built quickly, not perfect, not strong, but enough. The first drops of rain fell, then more, then everything. Heavy rain, strong wind, cold air. The forest shook. The human stayed inside its small shelter, holding it together, fighting the wind. This is impossible, one student whispered. No structure like that should hold. Kalair leaned closer. It doesn't need to last forever, he said. It only needs to last long enough. The storm continued, long, harsh, relentless, but slowly it passed. The rain stopped. The wind died. The forest became quiet again. The human stepped out, wet, tired, injured, but alive, still alive. No one spoke inside the ship. No one moved. The silence was heavy. Kalair stepped back slowly. His mind was no longer searching for answers. He had found them. This is the limit, he said quietly, and it did not break. Another student looked at him. Then what are they? Kalair looked at the screen one last time. The human was walking again, still moving forward, always forward. And Kalair finally said, they are not tested by their world. He paused, then finished. They are shaped by it. No one argued, no one questioned, because they had all seen it now. Pain, hunger, fear, danger, and still the human continued. Kalair lowered his head slightly, not in defeat, but in understanding. We were wrong, he said, completely wrong. The system remained silent, the forest remained still, and the human kept walking, as if nothing could stop it, as if stopping was not an option. Kalair whispered one last thing. If this is just one human, he looked at the others. What happens when there are many? No one answered, because deep down, they already knew. The observation room was completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Only the screen was alive. It showed the human, still walking, still breathing, still surviving. Kalair stood in front of it, but he no longer looked proud. His shoulders were lower now. His eyes were focused, but different. He was not trying to prove anything anymore. He was trying to understand. We pushed it to the limit, one student said softly, and it did not break. Another added, any of us would have stopped. No one disagreed, because it was true. Even the strongest species in the galaxy had limits, but this was something else. Kalair stepped closer to the screen. The human was slower now. Its movements were heavy. Each step looked painful, but it still moved forward. Why? Kalair whispered, there is no reward, no victory, no gain. The system answered in a calm voice. Unknown. Kalair shook his head. No, he said, there is a reason. He watched carefully, looking deeper, not just at the body, but at the behavior, at the choices, at the pattern. Then he saw it. The human stopped suddenly, not because it was tired, because it heard something, a sound, weak, faint. The human turned, moved toward it, slowly, carefully. The students leaned forward. What is it doing now? One asked. The system scanned. Life form detected. Small, injured, another human. The screen zoomed in. A second human lay on the ground, bleeding, barely moving. The first human approached, kneeling beside it, checking, helping. Why? One student asked again. It will reduce its own survival chance. Correct, the system replied. High risk action. Kalair stared at the screen. The first human lifted the injured one. Slow, difficult, painful, but it did it anyway, step by step, carrying extra weight, using extra energy. This makes no sense, another student said. Survival logic says abandon and continue. Kalair spoke quietly, but they are not following survival logic. The room became still. They are following something else. The human continued moving, struggling more now, its body shaking, its breathing heavy, but it did not stop, not even once. Energy levels critical, the system warned. Then why continue? Someone asked. Kalair answered, because it is not alone. The words felt heavy, different, true. The human found a place to rest, set the injured one down gently. Then it began to act again, cleaning wounds, using water, tearing fabric, making bandages, medical support behavior. The system said, basic but effective. Kalair watched in silence. This was not about survival anymore. This was something else, something stronger, something deeper. The injured human opened its eyes slightly, weak, afraid. The other human stayed close, did not leave, did not give up, even now, even after everything. This is irrational, one student whispered. Kalair shook his head slowly. No, he said, it is not. He paused, searching for the right words. Then he said, it is their strength. The room went quiet. No one expected that answer. Kalair continued, they are not strong because of their bodies. They are strong because of this. He pointed at the screen, at the two humans, helping each other, surviving together. They refused to let each other fall. The system added more data. Human survival rate increases significantly in groups. Kalair nodded. Yes, they are not individuals. They are connected. Another student spoke softly. That makes them harder to defeat. Kalair looked at him. Yes, because when you face one, he paused, then finished, you face all. The idea spread through the room. Heavy, uncomfortable, real. The human on the screen stayed with the injured one, through the night, through the cold, through the danger, protecting, watching, waiting, and somehow they both survived. Morning came. Soft light touched the forest. The two humans were still alive, weak, but alive, still fighting, still moving. Kalair took a slow breath. His mind was clear now. No doubt, no confusion, only truth. We misunderstood everything, he said. No one argued. We thought strength was power. We thought survival was dominance. He looked back at the screen, but they show something else. The human helped the injured one stand, slowly, carefully, together. They endure, they adapt, they protect. He turned to the others, and that makes them dangerous. No one laughed, no one smiled, because now they understood. This was not a weak species. This was not a simple species. This was something built by pain, shaped by danger, strengthened by struggle. Kalair stepped back. His voice became softer, but stronger. Earth is not just a death world. He paused. It is a training ground. The words echoed in the room, and no one could deny them. The system remained silent, because there was nothing left to explain. Everything was clear now. Kalair looked at the human one last time, helping, moving, surviving, and he whispered, they are not surviving their world. He paused, then said, they are mastering it. The room stayed silent. Respect had replaced doubt. Understanding had replaced pride. And Kalair knew the final truth was still coming. But one thing was already certain. Humans were not weak. They never were. The ship rose slowly above Earth. The mission was over, but no one inside felt the same. The observation room was quiet, not empty, not inactive, just quiet. Every student stood or sat in silence, thinking about what they had seen. The screen still showed the last image. Two humans, walking together, slow, injured, but alive. Kalair stood at the front. He did not look like the same person who had laughed in the academy hall. His posture had changed. His eyes had changed. His understanding had changed. End observation log, the system said. K-Layer did not respond immediately. He kept watching the screen, as if he did not want to forget, as if he knew this moment mattered. Finally, he spoke. Save everything. The system confirmed. Data secured. Another student stepped closer. What happens now? She asked. K-Layer turned slightly. His voice was calm. We go back. The Galactic Academy Hall was full again, just like before. Rows of students, different species, different worlds, all waiting. The instructor stood in the same place, silent, still, watching. The large screen behind him lit up once more. The word appeared again. Humans. But this time, no one laughed. K-Layer walked forward slowly. All eyes turned toward him. He stopped at the center, the same place where he had once stood with pride. Now, he stood with something else. Understanding. The instructor spoke. You have completed your observation. K-Layer nodded. Yes. What did you learn? The room became completely silent. K-Layer looked at the screen, at the human image. Simple, unarmed, unprotected. But now, it looked different. He took a slow breath, then spoke. I was wrong. The words echoed. Clear, strong, honest. They are not weak. A few students shifted slightly, but no one spoke. K-Layer continued. We judge them by appearance. No claws, no armor, no natural weapons. He paused. And we believe that meant they could not survive. He turned slightly toward the audience. But we were wrong. He raised his hand. The screen changed. Now it showed Earth. Storms, predators, harsh lands, danger everywhere. This is their world, K-Layer said. A death world. The room remained silent. K-Layer's voice became stronger. Everything on this planet is designed to kill. The air, the water, the creatures, the weather. He paused again. And yet, the screen changed. Now it showed humans. Running, building, helping, surviving. They live. A student in the back spoke quietly. How? K-Layer answered without hesitation. Not because they are strong. Not because they are fast. Not because they are protected. He stepped forward. They survive because they do not stop. The room felt heavier now. Every word mattered. They adapt. They learn. They endure. The screen showed more moments. Humans in cold. Humans in heat. Humans in danger. Still moving. Still fighting. Still alive. K-Layer's voice lowered slightly. But that is not the most important part. The room leaned into his words. They do not survive alone. The screen showed the final scene again. Two humans, helping each other. They protect each other. They carry each other. They fight for each other. K-Layer looked at the audience. And that makes them dangerous. No one argued. No one disagreed. Because they all understood now. K-Layer turned back to the instructor, his voice steady. If you fight a human, he paused, then finished. You are not fighting one. You are fighting all of them. The instructor nodded slowly. The lesson was complete. But K-Layer was not done. He stepped closer to the center. One more thing. The room stayed silent. We believed Earth was their weakness. He looked at the image of the planet. But it is not. It is their greatest strength. The words hit harder than anything before. That world breaks everything. He paused, then said, Accept them. The room was completely still. K-Layer lowered his head slightly, not in defeat, but in respect. They are not victims of a death world. He lifted his head again. They are its result. The screen slowly dimmed. The human image remained. Simple, but now powerful. The instructor spoke one final time. Class dismissed. But no one moved immediately, because something had changed, deep inside. Not fear, not exactly, but awareness, respect, understanding. K-Layer stepped away from the center, walking back slowly. His mind replayed everything. The running, the fighting, the survival, the choice to help, the refusal to give up. And one final thought stayed with him. If they can survive that world. He looked back at the screen one last time, then whispered, what could they do beyond it? No one had the answer, but everyone felt it. Humans were not weak. They were not simple. They were not safe. They were shaped by the harshest world known, and that made them unstoppable.